Thank you for the kind introduction, and I'm happy to be here. It's actually warmer here in Ohio than north of Philly where I'm from, so I'm saving about 10 degrees. Okay, yeah, so I'm going to talk about our Best Tees program and how we've interacted here with the Miami Valley Golf Association over the last year. Steve covered some of my education. You ask, how does a chemical engineer, worked in the chemical industry 35 years, end up in the golf industry? Well, when your job's eliminated and you're still looking for something to do, I volunteered for my local golf association, GAP, Golf Association of Philadelphia, and I was interested in being a rules official. And they said, great, Dave, we always need somebody that can be a rules official for us, but you got to take the USGA training. All right, so I go on their website. It happened to be 2017, right before the rules modernization that came out. Lots of information out on the website. I was looking at when they give training, all the changes in the rules coming, and I just happened to click the careers link, and lo and behold, there was a research director job. I'm like, research director at the USGA? What's that about? Well, it ended up being the program manager for Distance Insights. They were looking for somebody with considerable research program management experience. The RNA didn't have that, USGA didn't have that, no surprise. I applied, I got the job, and I stand here now 8 years in the golf industry. So that's how I landed at the USGA. So I did 2 years as the program manager for Distance Insights. We published all our results from the work in 2018 and 2019 in February of 2020. There was 56 individual technical reports, 100 and some page summary of that called the Distance Insights Report, and then a statement of conclusions where the RNA and USGA leadership commented on what they thought it all meant. So that all got published. At that time then the program split into two. There were really two major opportunities identified in that distance research. One was the very public long side of distance, where especially the male elite game continued to hit the ball further and further. As a result, courses and holes continue to get longer and longer, and the USGA and the RNA said that is not economically or environmentally sustainable. It's not good for the game. We're going to change that. And that led to more work on that side on the equipment rules. Less well known is the other opportunity that golf courses are not short enough for the shortest hitting golfers. We call that the shorter side of distance, and that's the part that I led for the other 4 years that I was full-time with the USGA. So that's what we focused on, and it became the Best Tees. I retired at the end of 23 from full-time work, started my own consulting business, actually got hired back on as a consultant for the USGA, so I spend 6-8 hours a week working for them as a senior consultant to the green section, focused on our Best Tees program. I also lead my president of Stellar Golf Advisors. My biggest client is Golf Australia. Actually, Golf Australia is doing a lot with the shorter side of distance. But I've had some other opportunities, but I really focus on working with the USGA right now. They're keeping me plenty busy. All right, I already mentioned most of this, but just to highlight a little bit more on those middle years, 2020 to 2023, we did 2 additional years of research on the shorter side of distance. It was an industry-wide effort, PGA of America, LPGA, National Golf Course Owners Association, the Golf Course Builders, the architects, all were involved with this work. It led to a pilot test of about 60 golf clubs. Reed Park was one of them. And we tested the system that we developed in 2022. In 2023, gathered that feedback, and then it turned into the Best Tees products and services launched by the Green Section in 2024. And so I do all the sales, marketing, and then product and service delivery for the Best Tees. All right, how do we define Best Tees? This is we call it our practical definition. that with good shots on most holes, that golfers should be able to make a 2-putt par and have some birdie chances without constantly using the longest clubs in their bag on approach shots. How's that resonate with the group here? Meaning that, you know, if you hit good shots, you should be able to reach greens in regulation is the more technical definition of it. I can tell you there are many, many golfers that never have this experience. Never. So we've interviewed and surveyed hundreds of golf professionals, LPGA, PGA of America, thousands of golfers. We did surveys specifically on golfer experience in 2021 and 2023, where we had 65,000, I believe, answer in 2021 and over 20,000 answer a very long, detailed survey in 2023, and analyzed a full year of GIN score posting data. And what we learned is that there's a significant gap between what golfers say they want in their playing experience versus what they choose when they hit the first tee. And that more than half of golfers, especially female golfers, play a course that's too long for them. And what's fascinating is when you ask them in a survey and nobody else is around, they admit it. 54% of golfers admit they regularly play too long a course for their capability. So how are we trying to address this? We're providing golf courses and golfers with tools to provide and select best tees. And I see Steve or somebody has some props printed out up here, which we'll get to. And the results to date are very positive. We know from hiring John Last and the Sports and Leisure Research Group and doing on-course and surveys in the field that golfers enjoy their experience better when they play tees that fit their game. I can use this. All right, so I plugged this slide in real quick. Everything I have done with the USGA after Distance Insights on golfer experience and best tees is about retention. And coming from the commercial world, when I joined the USGA in 2018, I very much immediately focused in on the economics of golf and what was happening in the industry. And what I saw at the time, I found pretty alarming. I saw since around 2000 to 2002, every substantial metric that you would care about, rounds played, number of golfers, all were in decline. At that time, you would have roughly 3 million new golfers every year. But you'd have 3.2, 3.3 million leaving the game. And we were losing 200,000 to 300,000 golfers every year from, like I said, the peak around 2002 or so. And, you know, it was clear that there was a retention issue to me. And you know, we heard around the room today how golf has thrived since COVID has occurred. I would say to you that the opportunity around retention is bigger than ever. So yeah, everybody's happy. We have 6 million new golfers and 5 million are leaving. Well, we've grown the number of golfers leaving the game from 3.3 to 5 million. What an opportunity if we could retain more of those 5 million that leave the game every year to grow even quicker. And then when those lean times come, and you know, those who have more gray hair than me or as much gray hair as me know that that's eventually going to happen. Let's get ahead of this now when times are good. What can we be doing to mitigate that and have my course, our course, your course, be more retention proof? So this is recent NGF data that just shows that. You know, again, the good news is we're getting more than we're losing right now, but we're still losing a lot. And our survey data would indicate that of those, if it's consistent with what we've seen in the past, about half of those golfers that we lose is because of financial or health reasons. Okay, maybe we're not going to attack that so well. But still half of them are leaving because they don't have the experience on the course that makes it worth their time and money to come back. Those are the golfers, those 50% that are leaving, that this is all about. All right, so what are our products and services that we're offering? Here's our T selector. This is a generic one. I can see Steve had printed out one here for Walnut Grove. Here's a poster size version of it. And just to lead you through what's on here. So first of all, this is customized for your course. So every course would have a specific T selector that's based on the exact number of playing distances that they offer. So if you offer, in this case, 4 options, you're going to have 4 rows. If your course has 9 or 10 or 11, you're going to have that number of rows. It's all based on your 7-iron hitting distance, and it's your total distance, and it should be your average. So average 7-iron distance, including your carry, bounce, and roll. And I can explain why if people are interested in why we chose that. But one of the main reasons is every other system out there previously used driver, or you've heard 5-iron times 36 maybe. Well, I don't know how many people still even have a 5-iron in their bag. I don't. And even if you do, it hits like a 3-iron from 20 years ago. Not many people could hit a 3-iron very well, right? So it's not really a good choice. Driver, we know, is the most exaggerated club in the bag. We spent considerable effort going out to golf courses, giving people a survey first. How far do you hit your clubs besides all the demographic information? We'd ask them how far do you hit your driver, how far do you hit your 7-iron, how far do you hit your pitching wedge. Of course, they're answering this knowing TrackMan is sitting right there and they're about to hit shots. So they're going to be as honest then as you would expect them to be. They exaggerate their hitting distance of their driver about 9%. And if you look at what they tell you, if we took their best 2 of the 7 shots that they hit with driver, that's what they report. So not their average, they give you their best drives, which is about 9% above their average. 7-iron, they're much more accurate. Pitching wedge are actually right on, but the pitching wedge distance isn't quite far enough to really have it differentiate very well. So we went with 7-iron to keep it simple. The lower part of this grid is a playability index, and golfers could scan that QR code and get more information about playability index. This is a substitute for slope and rating. As we spoke with the facilities, they were telling us that golfers are confused by slope and rating, and no wonder. They visit a particular golf course and they see, the forward tees have a lower slope and rating, and as you go to the back tees, that number climbs. If they compare that to the course across the street, there's probably considerable overlap between those 2 courses, even though they could be substantially different in difficulty. The reason that occurs is because distance, or the yardage of the holes and the 18 holes, or how many holes are involved, dominates the slope and rating. And so the actual length of that playing option is really what is determined there. We're taking that out by having the T selector and getting the golfer on the right tee. We're removing distance now as the issue. They should be able to handle it if they use the system right. They're going to select the tee that fits their hitting distance. So now what's left is the obstacles on the course, and that's what this system's based on. It's essentially like a ski slope rating of the double black diamond down to the easiest. We're using a 1 through 5 category. In this case, it was showing that this course is a moderate. And the way you might use that is it's really a fine-tuning on the tee you might play that day. If you're used to playing an easier 1/2 course that has wide fairways, easy rough, greens might not have a lot of undulation on them, etc., and suddenly you're on a 4 or 5 course, well, you're going to have a lot more challenge that day from the obstacles. Maybe you should have a little less challenge from distance. Play a little bit shorter tee, move up to a combo or something like that. We package this T selector. It's sent out electronically. You can use it, you can print it out in various sizes and put it in the clubhouse, a driving range, at the first tee, on a clipboard with a starter if you use a starter, to have conversations. But we package that up with a best practice manual and a quick start guide. The best practice manual has lots of details around the research, what was behind the system, but if you're just interested in implementation, then you can go ahead and use the quick start guide. So that's the T selector. This is really the primary product that we offer. However, our spreadsheet that does the calculations has a tremendous amount of information in it around what coverage your tees would have of the golfing population out here. So here's an example course that shows a variety of tees over there overlaid with the distribution of female hitting distances, driver distances, and male. And you can see this course covers actually male golfers very well. Any golfers that could play the longest tee but hit it further than that, they can still have fun on your course. Might feel a little shorter for them, but they could certainly enjoy it. And there's very few male golfers that wouldn't be accommodated by these tees. But you can see it doesn't do such a good job on female golfers. Maybe at most half of female golfers could comfortably play this course. And this is not uncommon. If your forward tee does not have a 4 starting on its distance, 4,000 something, you're certainly in this kind of situation. So we can do lots of things. A lot of what I do on the consulting side is look at the opportunity for blended tees. If there's more than 500-600 yards between any of your tees, it's a great opportunity for putting in a combo or a blended tee. It's virtually free to do. Steve might not say that, but somebody's got to do the calculations. But all the information is in the course rating system hole by hole. So if you just say we're going to have 9 whites and 9 blues, it's trivial actually to come up with the slope and rating and implement that within GIN. We also are now just rolling out a new product. Some of you may use a magic number approach to allow golfers in net competitions to move forward. If your age plus your handicap is 75, you can move up from, we're playing the blue tees, you can move up to the white tees. Very random. We can do it based on your exact course. So you can imagine if moving up from the blue to the white tees in my example I just gave was 300 yards, well, it actually shouldn't be that hard for a golfer to move up. They're not getting that much of an advantage. Where if it's 1,000 yards, it should require a lot for that golfer to move up 1,000 yards because suddenly they're getting a huge advantage, right? So we can calculate that. In the example here, if you look at the blue table, to move from the blue to white tee on this specific course, the tee distance is 534 yards. And the way you would read this is, as you move across there, if a golfer is 50 years old and an 18 or higher handicap, you should let them move forward. And as you would roll across there, if they're 75 years old, as long as they're more than a 2 or more, you would let them move forward. Similarly, you can move even up further to the orange, 1,300 yards. You see that 75-year-old now has to be a higher index or a worse golfer, a lower skill level, but you would allow them to move up those 1,300 yards if they were a 13 handicap. This is all based on average hitting distances based on gender and handicap index. It would be better to have everybody 7-iron distance and just assign them to the tee based on that, but you may not have that in a member guest or if it's a public course offering a public tournament. So this is a way to do that. And obviously the same for female golfers. So we're offering this now, and it would come with a best practice manual on how to implement this. So what are some of the results? We found that in surveys, more than half of golfers would use a tee selector if it was provided. We again went out and surveyed golfers after they used it and held focus groups and found that playing best tees increased their enjoyment. We know that courses that offer shorter and shorter forward tees, that there's more female golfers that will play that course, and there'll be more rounds posted. We interviewed the 2023 pilot testing group. They said the tee selector was simple and easy to understand. They recognized the pace of play opportunities to improve and declared that it was a home run. More recently, the PGA of America, Erin Hills is probably the poster child for this. They jumped right in 2023, trained their starters, trained their caddies, have one of these big charts on the wall of the caddy barn. They find that about, well, at least this past year, about 15% of golfers will engage in conversations. And they've had over a 2-year period about 1,600 golfers move forward out of about 17,000, 18,000 rounds per year. They're thrilled with that. They think, they know that golfers are enjoying their time there better. They really didn't have a pace of play issue because they had rangers all over the course. So they would move groups along when they needed to, but they know that the golfers are having a better time. And the PGA of America published this as a best practice on their website, Erin Hill's use of the tee selector. You interested in this directly, you could contact me. But more important, we had a nice program. Marissa's here. She may have interacted with, I recognized as the introductions were happening, many of the names that we worked with. Our objective working with Miami Valley last year was to offer the tee selector package to a variety of Miami Valley Golf Association courses. And Marissa did most of the work to make it a cost-effective way to do this. And so the program was announced. Marissa collected all the scorecards. I did the first one and trained her how to do it. So she entered all the data into the spreadsheets for each course. So we had that. Then I determined the 7-iron ranges that would go with that. I edited the first, and the playability index. I edited the first PDF. Again, showed Marissa how to do that. She did all the other ones. I looked them all over for quality control, and then they were sent out over the springtime and early summer to all the courses that were participating. We had 14 different facilities, and we did 18 different custom tee selectors. In some cases, there was one course that had 27 holes, and it ended up that actually each of the 18-hole combinations needed their own tee selector because one of the nines was substantially different in distance than the other two. Another course had 36 holes, but actually the tees were set up pretty similarly. So we only needed one tee selector that covered actually both courses, and the naming of the tees was the same, so it didn't matter. So at this point, I'm just going to pause. And actually, I would have taken questions at any point. I hope I didn't just keep rambling on too much. But I'm curious if any of the participating courses have any comments or any feedback. Sure.
So we have 4 sets of tees that we use for events, and we let people. We do have some parameters, but we let people choose what they want to move up to based on, right now it's just age. But am I wrong in thinking that the theory is if you have an index, you should be able to play fairly against anybody else from any set of tees with the associated playing handicap? And if that is the case, why does there need to be any parameters, age or distance or whatever?
All right, that's a big question. So, I work very closely with Steve Edmondson, Scott Hovde of the USGA course rating and handicap team. Had extensive discussions over the years. There's, I say, 2 major challenges. One is there's always a way to game the system. Not that you couldn't do that anyway. And 2, there's doubt and suspicion in many golfers' minds that that's fair. So those are the 2 things that we really have to attack. Talking to Steve and Scott, the handicapping system is excellent if you're within about plus or minus 500 yards of your optimum playing distance. So let's just say ideal for me, par 72, standard setup of 4 par 3s, 4 par 5s, is 6,000 yards. If I play tees between 55 and 6,500 yards, that handicap system is going to be probably pretty darn accurate. And whether I played 57 today and 62 tomorrow, my index and scores are probably going to be comparable and fine. If I start playing too long, what happens is the course starts to overwhelm me, and my score is likely to be higher than the handicap system would predict, and my index is going to go up. If I move up real short, 4,500 yard tees. I can't make enough birdies to make up for the strokes I'm going to lose. And again, my handicap is going to be higher than it should be. So for all those golfers that are playing in that window, and we'll exclude people that might try to cheat or anything, right? Playing in that window, fine. But for the golfers that are like hanging on and still trying to play the blue tees, and they really shouldn't be, and now suddenly they choose, it's the net club championship or whatever. I'm going to play the white. I'm going to move up. Well, they could generate an advantage, and I think you have to be careful about that. So some clubs, what they'll do is they'll let people play anywhere they want, but they'll say you have to play the majority of your rounds from that tee. Not every, there could be occasions where you want to move up or move back, but play the majority of, and they'll monitor that. So that's, I'll say, was there another part of your question? I feel like there was.
That was a reasonable answer.
Okay. Maybe it's more than you wanted to know, but yes, sir.
With the golf ball rollbacks, is that factoring in these tee measurements, or is that no?
So if everybody heard the question, it was if the golf ball rollback affects that. And the other way people ask me is, well, what happens if you're in Denver, right? Is that accounted for with this? So what we presume in either case is if you're telling me your 7-iron distance with the new golf ball, or you're telling me your 7-iron distance off the tee in Denver, and you're reading that chart, it's fine. Now, if you're used to playing in Denver and your average 7-iron distance is 165, and you go play the Ocean course, and you don't account for the fact that your 7-iron distance is no longer 165 at sea level, then you might get the wrong answer. But if you know that, or you test it and you go to the Kiowa and you hit some shots, you say, oh, my 7-iron is only going 152. Use the 152 for the Kiowa course chart, you'll be fine. And that would be the same with any golf ball and any distance change that could happen there. Yes, sir.
Our biggest complaint with the implementation of it was from most of the old gray-haired guys that should be up there playing from a short distance. But Reed Park was never designed with 5 tees on each hole. It was built in the 60s, and you barely have ladies' tees, and there was never any big renovation to put extra tees in. So we have the hybrid tee up there with the gold tee and the red tee. Well, the old guys go, well, I'm not playing up there because that's where all the women play. And there's a big, they get into rather interesting discussions about that they don't want to be playing where the ladies tee. Why are all the gold tees where the ladies tees are?
So let me tell you a very quick, how are we doing on time? Okay, let me tell you a quick story. So there were 3 courses in California, LA area. Two of the courses were on the same property and one was just down the road. So the same same golfers are playing all of these 3 courses. One course over a couple year period had 25,000 rounds posted from a 6,000 yard tee. The next course had about 23,000 posted from a 6,000 yard tee. And the third course had only 350 posted from a 6,000 yard tee. The difference was that course number 1, it was blue, and there was white and red tees on that course ahead of it. Course number 2 was white tees and there was a red tee forward. The third course, the shortest distance was a red tee at 6,000 yards, and men would not play it. I mean, it's baffling, right? It's almost baffling, but it is not shocking. In our surveys, red, we asked about association of colors with either gender or age or skill level, and red came up as the most associated as a ladies' tee. So if it was up to me personally for the golfer experience, there would be no red tees anywhere on any course. change it to anything else you want, or put the red tee as your tips. Although, you know, black and having that associated with the tips is probably not a bad thing. It probably discourages golfers from playing the tips, so maybe I would leave that at black. But anyway, ban red as a color option. The corollary to that is build shorter tees. In our template to cover 95% of the golfing population that I showed you, we recommend tees start as short as 3,600 yards, end at 6,800 yards, spread out by 800 yards. So you'd have physical tees at 36, 40. This is for par 72. 3,600, 4,400, 5,200, 6,000, 6,800. Put combo tees in between. You have 9 playing options. You'd have, for each gender, 3 physical options and 2 blended options. They cross over at 5,200 yards, where the longer playing women would play and some of the shorter male golfers would play. And that's a good template. It's you don't want every hole to be, you know, the same length, right? We want variety, shorter, middle, and longer holes, etc. But that's a good starting point if you want to cover, if your goal of your facility is to cover as many golfers as possible. When you do that, that 3,600 yard tee would get relatively little play. Probably 5% of your rounds would be from that tee. However, many, many more golfers will move forward and play the appropriate tee for their game when they see that there's a tee up there in front of them. They don't have to be large. They can be in the fairway. You want them to be easily identifiable as a tee. You want them to have the same tee markers. You want them to be flat, but they don't need to be large. They can be in the fairway. They can be cut easily with a fairway mower. Somebody has to get off the mower and move the tees and put them back. Understood, but I think that's the least we could ask for the benefits, where you will get many, many more golfers playing forward.
So then you need a scorecard with 15 tee measurements on it?
The scorecard companies have many, many options on how to efficiently display those options. So in this case, if you followed the template, and I have an example scorecard, I didn't show it here, where you would have the 5 physical tees and then you would use arrows. You can run into issues on stroke allocation for match play and things like that. If people are playing, some golfers are competing against each other from physical tees and blended tees, but I think those are details. So you only need the 5 rows really, and you can handle the rest with arrows or color coding, etc.
Thank you very much, David. That was amazing.